Welcome to the College Football Bros, the podcast ready for a December to remember. And now, here are your hosts, Michael, Ryan, and Trey Newman.
Welcome to the College Football Bros podcast. I am Mikey Newman, and I'm joined by the middleest brother.
Mikey, that's me, Ryan Newman.
Thought you would give yourself a fun little name, Ryan, but...
No, that was a little bit weird from you. Sorry.
Okay. I'm also joined by the oldest brother.
That'd be me, Trey Man.
Trey
Newman.
I don't really have one. What do I go by?
I thought you would say like Rai or something like that.
Or
No,
Rye Guy.
Rye Guy, there you go. All right, hey, we got our next week's intro. Anyway, so last week we opened up the show and I shamelessly plugged my new Twitter account at CFB_Michael. I'm going to do it again, but because, well, I just did, I guess, but we made a bet as to whether I would have over or under 50 followers by the time we record this episode, and you guys both went over. I'm at 49 right now.
Wow.
So the under hit, but I'm going to do something.
Well, we're recording a day earlier than usual.
That's true. So maybe it would have won.
Yeah.
If it was a more normal recording schedule. But I'm right now, let's try and get it during this episode. So I'm going to tweet from my account as we speak here. It is 10:35 p.m. on the West Coast. And I'm going to say, please follow me. I'm desperate. All right. I'm going to hit
It's past
tweet
my
there.
bedtime.
It is past, your bedtime, not mine.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to go over to College Football Bros and I'm going to retweet that. And let's just see. Okay, now how many followers if I could speak, am I going to get from this? So Ryan, you set the over under. Trey,
By the end of this, by whatever, before this like hour or so.
Yep.
Okay, so you're 49 right now. I'm going to set the over under at 52.
Okay.
52.
Because it is late on the East Coast where most
East
people
Coast
are.
is. I'm banking on like no
That's
one.
a good point.
Oh man, I don't know. I want to see what he's tweeting, but I'll say I'm gonna go under. I was over last week. I'll go under this week.
Okay, so you're going under 54. All right, I just
52.
quote tweeted that from the CFB Bros account, and I said, "Wow, pathetic." So we'll see what happens.
I said 52, Mike.
Oh, 52.
Oh.
Sorry, I misheard.
Oh.
All right,
Yeah,
still under. Okay, all right, here we go.
tough call.
Great start to the episode here. But enough about my stupid Twitter account. Let's talk about our newest sponsor.
Yeah, that's right. That's from myfrontpagestory.com. We've talked about them in the past, but it's the holiday season, and a lot of us, including myself, we tend to procrastinate on gifts. But now we're hitting December here as we release this podcast, and this would be a great holiday gift. If you use the promo code BROS20 at myfrontpagestory.com, you can get 20% off. And what it is you basically can talk to a professional writer for 10 to 15 minutes. Maybe it's for your mom or your dad or your grandparents or, an aunt and uncle, a significant other. And you basically get to have them write a story about that person. It's a very sentimental gift, and basically they'll have it look just as if it was on the front page of a newspaper. It's pretty heartfelt, especially if you're going to give it to someone that's close to you. It's a unique gift, and especially in the pandemic times, you don't have to go out and physically go buy something. You can just talk to someone over the phone and have this delivered to them, and or you, and give it to your who you want. So again, it looks like a newspaper front page. They have it framed. It's a nice little story about them. If you use the promo code BROS20, you'll get 20% off at myfrontpagestory.com.
Yeah, and apparently the happy tears rate is very close to 100% for that gift. So
Yeah.
that's always a good thing. All right.
I know you cried like a baby when I gave it to you.
I was absolutely bawling. Yeah, for sure.
It was great.
Touching.
All right, let's get to our week 13 takeaways. So Ryan, you go first.
Oh, okay. Wasn't ready for that one. I thought you were going to lead us off, but all right, I'll go for it. My first one, Notre Dame, the Notre Dame, North Carolina game here. Notre Dame's good. That's kind of the newsflash. But North Carolina got off to a hot start. They scored 2 touchdowns like really early in the game, and North Carolina was ahead 14-7. But after that point, Notre Dame outscored North Carolina 24-3. Didn't allow North Carolina to score in the second half, which is saying something considering that high-flying attack of North Carolina and Sam Howell. They got a lot of weapons. To shut them out completely in one half is impressive. That defense for the Notre Dame really stepped up. Ian Book was his usual self, very solid, nothing spectacular, but he's just super consistent. Runs that offense well, and they really ran the ball well, which is kind of their calling card. Kyron Williams continues to have a huge year. Just a very good team. I mean, there's no real weaknesses you can really point to at them. Maybe you wish they were a tad more explosive, but with a good ground game, great defense, it just sets up well. They're tough.
Yeah,
it's amazing. I was just going to say, in our group or our podcast Discord that we have through the Patreon, when they scored early and it was like 14-7, I literally almost pushed send on our Discord chat saying, wow, this is just going to be a shootout. This is going to be great. And you're right. Notre Dame just like ended up really stifling them, and it slowed down in the second half. So
they both scored like 28 points like in the first like 10 minutes. And then there was like 17 points in the entire game after that. It was weird.
All right. I've got 2 individual performances that I wanted to bring up. So one is, of course, Jaret Patterson for Buffalo, the running back.
Man, crazy.
36 carries, 409 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And the 8 rushing touchdowns ties the FBS record. He was 18 yards short of Samaje Perine's rushing yards record in a single game. And he could have got it. He would have got it probably if Lance Leipold hadn't taken him out. On the last drive, his backup running back ended up getting the touchdown and the yards. So I think Leipold said after the game he didn't realize that he was so close to that record. So,
it's all right.
We'll let it slide.
Who's the stat guy? Somebody's got to get in the head coach's ear there, man.
I know someone's got to tell him, but
wow.
Ross Tucker was great on the call, saying, "What are you doing? Why are you taking him out? We're trying to make history here."
Yeah, you got to do that.
But with this performance, I, of course, went to the play index. So let's enter the trivia zone.
I'm going to ask you a trivia question here.
Trivia.
Doesn't matter what it is, you have answers.
Zone.
When you ask me those kind of questions, it really pisses me off.
Trivia zone.
Okay, so Jaret Patterson now has 920 rushing yards on the season in his first 4 games. That's the most by anyone in their first 4 games since 2000. The second most is nearly 100 yards fewer. It's 828 yards in 2006 by which Northern Illinois running back?
Garrett Wolf.
Garrett Wolf, very good.
Wow,
right.
I don't know why that came to me so quick.
That was very quick. Third on the list, 787 yards in 2017, Stanford.
Christian McCaffrey.
Nope.
Bryce Love, son of a gun.
Yeah, Bryce Love. There's so many.
It's like Gerhardt.
Gerhardt.
Yeah.
That was a little too early.
Yeah,
That's a little too late, I should say, for McCaffrey, I guess.
Yeah. All right, 750 yards. And this is going to be another tough one. 2016, San Diego State.
Pumphrey.
Okay, wow, you got that quick.
Oh, right. You just got to guess one, the first one that comes to your head.
Oh, is that what you got to do? You don't want to think about it?
I did. That was, if I thought about it too much, I would have.
Yeah, worked out. Okay, so now let's get to the touchdowns aspect of it. We covered the yards. So he has 16 touchdowns through 4 games. The next most anyone has had since 2000 in his first 4 games is 12. And so 3 guys have done that. The last player to do it was a quarterback. Which quarterback?
12 touchdowns in first 4 games, and it was a quarterback.
Mm-hmm. 12 rushing touchdowns. Yep.
Wow. Okay. Got to be a running quarterback here. Who we got? Khalil Tate.
No. Well, that's interesting. He may have done it although I don't know if he did, but he may have done it in a 4-game stretch in his first 4 games. But this has to be the team's first 4 games.
Team's first 4 games, rushing QB.
I can give you a hint if you want.
Running QB, first 4 games.
Just name great running quarterbacks.
Was it in the last 5 years?
Yeah,
Okay.
Jalen Hurts.
it was 2016, not Jalen Hurts.
2016.
I can give you another hint.
Congrats, man.
I mean, great running quarterback, great quarterback overall.
Right.
Could pass, he could run.
Wow.
He won the Heisman Trophy.
Oh, Lamar
Mariota.
Jackson.
Oh, Lamar
Lamar
Jackson.
Jackson.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
So you got
Come on,
that
dude. Wow.
after a hint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other guys who had 12 touchdowns in their first 4 games were running backs. So one was Temple, 2011.
Temple running back.
That's a tough one. I almost thought about not even asking. I mean, you could get it, but
Yeah, it's ringing
initials
a bell,
initials BP.
but
Batting practice. I don't know.
No. Yeah. Boy, this is tough.
BP.
Bernard
Bernard Pollard. I don't know. That
Oh,
guy.
the first name was right.
Bernard. Wow.
Did you say Powell or Pollard?
He said Bernard, and they said Pollard. Or
Oh,
Yeah, I think I said Pollard or Powell. I don't know. Bernard.
wow. How soon we
his
forget.
same last name as Arizona State's defensive coordinator.
Oh, Pierce.
Yeah,
Pierce.
Bernard
God dang.
Pierce.
Oh, Pierce. Yeah. Okay. Now that makes sense. Now that I remember that guy.
And then the last one, I hesitate that. This one's impossible. I mean, not impossible, but Toledo 2001.
Oh,
I would never have gotten it. I mean, I know who he is, but
I don't know.
All right, he has the same first name as the Cheetos guy.
I
don't know the Cheetos guy.
All right, it's Chester Taylor. It's Chester Taylor. Anyway,
His
all
name's
right.
Chester.
Yeah,
How are we supposed to know that?
I'm gonna shorten out those breaks for when you guys were thinking for the audio listeners, but apologies to the YouTube folks. You're getting that whole thing.
Chester Taylor. All right.
Yeah. All right. So I'm not done yet, by the way, guys, with my first takeaway, because the other individual performance got to bring up is Sarah Fuller for Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Became the first woman to play in a Power 5 game. Unfortunately, Vanderbilt could not help her out at all. They couldn't get in field goal range. They couldn't score a touchdown to have her kick an extra point. But she did get to do the kickoff to start the second half, and she did well. It appears they asked her to, do kind of a directional squib, and it went right to 35, no return. I mean,
just what they asked, probably. So yeah,
it's too bad. I mean, because they got a lot of people that wouldn't normally watch a Vanderbilt Missouri game, including myself. I was flipping over, but gosh, that offense was just too inept.
Give us one.
Come on.
Come on.
I know
Yeah,
that stunk, but very cool story.
I think the Vanderbilt president was also thinking the same thing. Like, God, come on,
yeah,
you're fired.
Yeah, that was a good story.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go kind of to a more, I guess, bad story, and that's Indiana. First of all, in their game, it wasn't necessarily pretty. They beat Maryland. The first half was kind of ugly. Then they flexed their muscle and were pretty dominant. I was actually impressed how they bounced back after the loss against Ohio State. You thought they might cave with after their hopes were kind of crushed the week before. But the obvious storyline, the bad news, was Michael Penix now tore his ACL, out for the year. You really feel for the Hoosier fans. I mean, this is their best team ever, and their quarterback goes down. That's hard. I mean, the season's not over, but that's a tough blow.
Yeah, for sure.
That one hurts. Feel bad for Penix, and that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, they have Tuttle coming back, right? So he was a highly recruited guy. Hopefully he can fill in and do well.
Yeah.
All right, my next takeaway, the Civil War, just an incredible game. Oregon and Oregon State. I'm guessing we're not supposed to call it the Civil War anymore, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Oregon State. Whatever.
Sorry about that now. Yes. Oregon State, big game. Super fun game to watch. So kind of just say, like, Oregon State, they're kind of hanging in there in the first half. They were down 11 going into halftime. You kind of thought maybe Oregon would just kind of pull away, but the Beavers hung tough. So we kind of jump forward here to the fourth quarter. Beavers were down 38-34 with about 8 minutes left, and they went on a long, like 6-minute plus drive down 4, and it ended up in a turnover on downs. They couldn't convert a fourth down with about 2 minutes left, and they were at Oregon's 15. They were right about to score. So Oregon gets the ball, about 2 minutes left, game over, right? Not so much. The Beavers held Oregon to a quick 3-and-out. They had 3 timeouts, so a quick 3-and-out. Only 23 seconds came off the clock, so the Beavers got the ball back real quick, and they drove down the field again, got it to the 1-yard line. Their starting quarterback, Tristan Gebbia, hurts his, I don't even know what he hurt, but he hurt his
hamstring, maybe?
Was it an ankle?
He said his hamstring on the sideline.
Okay, well, he looked like he was in a lot of pain, and it seemed like more of a hamstring than an ankle injury to me, just by the look on his face. So anyways, yeah, so he was out. They got to bring in their backup quarterback, Chance Nolan, never played D1 snap before. His first and only snap, 4th and goal from the 1-yard line to win the Oregon State. QB sneak, they push it. He gets it easy. They pushed him in way past. And so Oregon State pulled out the win, 41-38. Star of the game, though, was Jermar Jefferson, the Oregon State running back. He rushed for that game record 226 yards. So, I mean, that was fun. And the Beavers, they were, if you look at the stats, they were actually the better team as far as statistics. They had more yards. They were better on the ground. So that wasn't a fluke. They pretty much deserved to win that game.
Yeah, huge win. That was Jonathan Smith. Yeah, just done a.
He's unbelievable, man. He's not getting enough credit yet.
And you could argue they could have or should have beaten Washington, so you would have beaten Oregon and Washington the same season. That's crazy.
It should be 3-1. That was that bad spot.
They got jobbed.
All right. Second takeaway for me is Matt Campbell now has a chance to do something that has not been done at Iowa State since 1912, and that's win a conference championship, because they beat Texas 23-20 on a 69-yard game-winning drive.
Nice.
So they have not quite clinched a berth in the Pac, or definitely not the Pac-12 title.
Not officially.
I got to tell you, they don't look good for the Pac-12 title at all.
Dicey.
Big 12 title, though. They're like 99.99% in, because there's only one scenario that could keep them out. It involves them, of course, losing to West Virginia, Kansas beating Texas, among many other things. So it's that like 8 other things need to happen. So they're in pretty much, and likely playing OU if OU takes care of business, but that's not a sure thing.
Correct.
One of my takeaways now is Michigan. We could kind of have it every week. And Harbaugh, they lost at home to winless Penn State 27-17. And we all know Penn State is better than their record, but they're not great. And it's not a good look for Harbaugh. They just cannot get a quarterback. And that has been a problem during his whole tenure, really, at Michigan, getting consistent, solid quarterback play. It's been musical chairs a little bit this year and just hasn't been working. The alumni is starting to really gripe, not happy. A lot of them took to Twitter this past weekend. Brian Greasy, he's the Monday night. He tweeted, something to the effect of, "What more do we need to see?" Like, because there was a graphic of all his record against his rivals, and it's well documented. But I'm starting to lean that way. I'm still pro Harbaugh, but it's getting harder and harder to defend.
This is the first year where it's really blown up, obviously. Like before this year, if you were griping on Harbaugh, it's like it wasn't fair.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think and at some point, I think both things can be true. You can think that, I wouldn't mind them moving on from Harbaugh, and you can think his overall tenure there, he did a fine job. Like I think both of those things can be true, but no one was really even happy when he was doing the kind of good job early in the tenure. At least a few years in, they weren't. Just
because they didn't win any big games, like they just got so unlucky in a few of those. So,
and at some point too, I mean, obviously they're bad this year, and perception becomes reality too. With if the fan base is not happy, if the boosters are not happy, you kind of got to cut the cord before things get bad. I'm not saying that's necessarily the case yet, but I could see it happening.
I think he gets next year, and it's kind of like Frost. They need good years next year, or else they could be gone.
Okay, we'll see. Well, I'm sure there'll be more talk about that in the coming weeks, so we got time to discuss that.
All right, is my turn?
Yes, sir.
All right, my final one. Northwestern here unfortunate loss for Northwestern, but kind of just typical. They can beat anybody. They can lose to anybody. This proved it here. They went down 29-20 at the hands of Michigan State. Sparty, they're not that great this year, but they do have 2 top 15 wins. I mean, Michigan was in the top 15 when they beat them.
There you go.
And Northwestern was 8, so a top 10 win and a top 15. So come on, something to hang your hat on. So anyways, but Peyton Ramsey really struggled in this one. He was threw under 50% of his passes. Completed under 50% of his passes. He threw them 100%.
He threw them all.
Yeah. A couple picks. They couldn't run the ball well. They had 4 turnovers, uncharacteristic of them. Ugly game. They're still pretty much a lock at this point to make the Big Ten title game because they're sitting at 5-1. And their game this week coming up at Minnesota is canceled. So they only have 1 game left, which means the 2-loss Iowa team right behind them can't really pass them since Northwestern already beat them. So and then
Wisconsin's not going to play enough games.
Exactly. Wisconsin won't be able to qualify. So Iowa was the only team that had a chance, and they needed Northwestern to lose twice. So
are we sure Nebraska's not still in it?
We would need. I don't even know. Just
don't even say what we just need.
Yeah, I won't even say it. It's not good stuff. So yeah, there you go. Northwestern. Their undefeated season comes to an end, but they still have Big Ten title hopes.
All right. Big game ended in just always the most anticlimactic way for a game to end. So Cal was down 7. They went on a 90-yard drive, scored a touchdown with under a minute left, and the extra point to tie was blocked by Stanford. Oof, that's always the worst.
It's a tough way to lose.
Ouch.
Just a brutal start for a Cal team that we all had as, on our preview episodes, a dark horse in the Pac-12 North. But yeah, 0-3, and they have Oregon and at Washington State left. Not great.
Yeah, it's been bad with some of the stuff that's gone on there. They've had some injuries and some cancellations. They haven't been able to get a solid footing. I think they'll be all right next year, though.
Yeah, they could be a buy low team next year.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My last takeaway is Texas A&M. They beat LSU 20-7, but it wasn't pretty.
Not at all.
They're sitting there at 5th in the CFP rankings. And, with the right combination of things occurring, they could sneak in the playoff at this point. But they have to be, when you look at them right now, kind of with that quote unquote eye test, they have to be one of the weaker kind of 5th place teams at this point in the season, or playoff teams at this point. They're 14th in SP plus. Like this past week against LSU's pretty poor defense. Kellen Mond was 11 of 34 for only 105 yards.
He went back to being my boy.
Yeah.
I mean, we as a podcast all like the Aggies. We're bullish on them probably compared to most over the last couple of years. But they right now they don't look like the number 5 team in the country. They can make a case this week at Auburn, but last week wasn't the best.
Their defense looks legit. I'll give them that. Their D line is very good. That's got true. If Kellen Mond could just step it up a bit.
Yeah,
it's not even necessarily Kellen Mond though. It kind of was. He was
Spiller's good, but the Kellen Mond kind of held him back this week. But maybe it was a blip.
Didn't have great weapons, but.
Yeah, he's got Weidermeyer, but they lost a lot of receivers early in the season. But Mond has had a good year overall until this game. For the most part, it's been pretty good.
I know that's.
I'm not off the wagon. It was a little bit of an alarm.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, there you go. There's week 13. Didn't even bring up the Iron Bowl, just because it was such a blowout
to bring up.
Even without Nick Saban, of course, out due to COVID. Sark got the job done.
Sark did a tremendous job.
Yes. All right, let's get to some segments. Some unsurprising news is our first segment. Derek Mason has been fired at Vanderbilt. What are your thoughts on that decision, and what are some candidates you like?
My thought, I mean, everybody agrees. I don't think there's anybody out here defending Derek Mason getting or said he should have stayed or anything like that. It was time to go. And I think the timing is good too. I mean, there's no real reason to wait. Get that position open. Maybe you can gain some interest from certain coaches. Kind of get your head out there first and see what's out there. As far as some candidates, I mean, it's tough right at this point to pinpoint. But there's some names that are kind of getting thrown out by a few places that I saw. Jay Norvell is one. He's doing well at Nevada. He's their head coach right now. He's also spent some time pretty much at every level. OU, Nebraska.
He's been everywhere.
He's been in the NFL. So he's been all over the place. He's got the experience as assistant, head coach, NFL, whatever you want. So he'd be a solid pick. Clark Lee, he's Notre Dame's defensive coordinator. He actually played at Vandy in the early 2000s. So that's kind of a good connection right there. And of course, Notre Dame's defense is playing very, very well. So I could see that. One more I'll say, and then you guys, can bring in some couple others, but I'll say Sean Lewis. He's a young guy, 34 years old, Kent State's head coach, and he's kind of leading them to some unprecedented success here lately, especially offensively, which might be kind of exciting for them. So there's just a few guys, but it's pretty wide open right now.
I don't hate that last candidate you mentioned, but I'll also say, you're not going to be able to get, in my opinion, Hugh Freeze. So
Nope.
I think he can get a better job, in my opinion. If I'm going to take a guy, so here's the thing: if you're Vanderbilt, you're kind of sitting in that situation. Like, how can we differentiate ourselves? You might want to go. Maybe he could be
I
another
thought that's where
option.
you were going. Sorry.
No, but I was saying you're not going to be able to out recruit half the SEC or a lot of the SEC. So why not go with a Monken or Niumatalolo and try and bring the option? Just do something different. If you are going to try and go more conventional, maybe you got to take a flyer, like a guy like Will Healy at Charlotte. You got a young guy, just maybe you can catch lightning in a bottle and he can take it to the next level.
Yeah. The option discussion, there's a lot of people on Twitter and just in general that are in favor of these really bad teams to go to the option. And I mean, I can't argue against it. Personally, if I were a fan of Vanderbilt, I guess I wouldn't want it. I don't know why. I guess I just think I'd want to get the next James Franklin or try to, because I don't know. It just seems like there's more upside there, but there's definitely more downside. So
I don't know. I'm on the board with the option thing. I mean, it can kind of level the playing field. You recruit a totally different type of athlete, and
no, that's true.
So
that's
like
true.
you're making the point. It's just like you can't recruit with these guys. You're never gonna out recruit Bama. You're never gonna out recruit LSU. If you do the same thing they do, you're not gonna beat them.
Okay.
Yeah, but no one's ever going to out recruit Bama and LSU, but it's like, can you out recruit the 7th best team? And that's going to be tough.
Yeah. You need to get some, commitments that they're going to invest in the program there, and that you're going to get a good staff around you. I like the name you brought up, Trey, Will Healy, because I think that is, if you're looking for that next potential James Franklin, then he's at least a possibility. And I think you'd be getting him at a good time, because I mean, he's done a fine job in his first 2 years at Charlotte, but nothing like incredible that's going to get the attention of, some of the bigger Power 5 schools. But that's good, because if he does have great success at Charlotte, he's probably maybe too good for you, because he's just a name that's generated a lot of buzz the last few years, even going back to Austin Peay when he completely turned them around. So I think that's an interesting one. Lance Leipold at Buffalo, he's doing a great job there.
Older gentleman. But
yeah, Sean Lewis would be the younger option, but anyway, like you said, lots of names. It's hard to say. Jeff Fisher has been thrown around.
Oh my gosh,
of course he has.
I don't know. I could probably talk myself into it. It's not what I would do, but
hey, Herm Edwards is working out, so
very true. All right, let's get to some playoff scenarios. So, of course, last week after we recorded, the CFP rankings came out. Gives us a little bit of a better picture into what the committee's thinking. So let's go through the top, several teams in the CFP rankings and lay out their playoff case.
Sure.
So Ryan, start us out with Alabama.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy one there. Obviously if they win out, they're in, no doubt about it. You never know. You never know. They could look ugly. But if they lose, let's say they're not going to lose until the SEC title game. So let's go to the SEC title game. If they lose that one to Florida, they're still very likely being in. Slight chance that they don't, but I mean, I still think that they get in.
I would take a lot of chaos.
Yeah, it would they would have to
And
really
they would have to get
blown out.
Exactly.
Yeah, they'd have to get slide. And even then, I don't know, but
And
I agree there. Yeah, as long as they don't lose a couple, I think they're in. Okay, Notre Dame was number 2 in the rankings. This is an interesting one. So they're undefeated right now. So obviously, if they win out, they're in. If they lose to Clemson in the ACC championship, they still have a really good resume. One loss to Clemson, of course, and a team they beat earlier in the season. And so if the favorites win elsewhere, like in the other conferences, then I think likely both Clemson and Notre Dame are in. Now,
because you'd have Alabama and maybe Ohio State potentially.
Yeah, let's say those two. Yeah, and so you'd be comparing Notre Dame to maybe a 2-loss Oklahoma or undefeated Cincinnati,
yeah,
2-loss Florida. I think 1-loss Notre Dame would get in that scenario.
Agreed.
Now here's an interesting one though. So let's say Clemson beats Notre Dame. Clemson's in, obviously. Florida beats Alabama. Florida's in.
Yeah.
And we just kind of said, even if Alabama loses, we think they're in. So let's say they're the third team, I would think. Let's say it's a close game. And so, okay, so there's those three are in. Now you get down to maybe an undefeated Ohio State and a one-loss Notre Dame. And that could be tough, especially if Ohio State has another game canceled and maybe doesn't make the Big Ten title. And
in that scenario, if they don't make the Big Ten title, Notre Dame would get in.
Okay, so you think would that be a 6-0 Ohio State, or
I think it would be?
No, maybe they'd be
5-0.
Yes.
Well,
maybe 5-0.
Because if you play 6 games, you would make the Big Ten title game.
My thing with Ohio State though is
then they win. Wait a sec. They'd play another game against Wisconsin or Iowa.
They play. They get the championship.
2 plays 2.
Honestly, and this has been my thing is Ohio State. It literally could almost be better for them to just annihilate Wisconsin in the non-conference title game than just go play a 1-loss Northwestern in the Big Ten title game. I mean, I know it's weird, but I mean, they could be unbeaten and beat a better team. And people are going to say, oh, Wisconsin lost to Northwestern. Wisconsin's on paper still the better team. I know they lost, but I mean, if you dominated Wisconsin to stay undefeated, I'm not saying they'd get in over Notre Dame, but I'm saying it might be a better compelling case for Ohio State.
See, I disagree. I think facing Northwestern in the Big Ten championship, having that conference championship, which they're supposed to value, would be better. Now,
that's true.
I see your argument, but I think what hurts them. It depends on what happens with Wisconsin the next few weeks. But Wisconsin's only 2-1 right now.
Yeah, they haven't.
They haven't really.
If Wisconsin loses another game, fine. But
I
still might have Notre Dame in over them.
All right, so we kind of talked about a lot of scenarios there. So let's say Ohio State does play the rest of their games. Yeah, they're undefeated. They win the conference championship.
Yeah.
Do they get in over a 1-loss Notre Dame?
Boy,
it depends on how good they look. I really do. If Ohio State dominates, I think they get in. If they barely squeak, which they haven't looked super, super impressive so far, I think Notre Dame gets in.
Yeah, and I think Ohio State's better, but Notre Dame's resume is better. Ohio State really, even if they go unbeaten, they won't really have beaten that amazing of a team. Yeah, the conference is down this year, so I would still lean to Notre Dame. Yeah. It's gonna be close though. Tough call.
Yeah, I think we're all open-minded about that argument. We'll see when we get there, but it's
like a couple weeks ago I would have for sure said Ohio State, but now the more we've learned about the Big Ten, I'm leaning towards the Irish.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's number 3?
Oh, we got Clemson. Theirs is very simple, straightforward. If they win out, if they beat Notre Dame in the ACC title, they're in. But if they lose to Notre Dame again, or even slip up against Virginia Tech this weekend, then they're out. They'll have a couple losses, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah.
Likely, yeah.
Yeah, that is true. All right, let's go to Ohio State then. We kind of touched on them here a little bit already. So, I mean, if they win the Big Ten championship, they play this weekend, they play Michigan, and they win against Northwestern. It's hard to imagine they wouldn't make it, but it's possible. It is definitely possible. Yeah. They're not a lock. They're not a lock.
No, yeah.
Which is surprising to say, but it's just the way it is. Their schedule's not strong enough, and they haven't so far up to this point looked dominant enough. if they don't make the title game due to the cancellation of games, or I mean, obviously, if they lose a game, they're out. There's just no doubt about that. But if they don't, let's say they have this weekend's game canceled, and they don't make the Big Ten title game, I think it becomes very, very difficult for them to make it. They'd have to get lucky to make the playoff, in my eyes.
Okay, I'm not sure if I feel as strongly as you, but that's a reasonable take there. Okay, A&M was 5th, and they likely have at Auburn, against Ole Miss, and at Tennessee left. I think the SEC schedule is still kind of in flux, but I think those should be their 3 games. If they win out, they're 9-1 with a win over Florida, and their only loss is at Alabama. So not a bad resume. Of course, they're not going to make the SEC championship, so they need some help. So here's the scenario that they're most hoping for. They're not passing Alabama, so they might as well have Bama beat Florida in the SEC championship. So that knocks Florida out. Notre Dame beats Clemson to knock Clemson out.
Yep.
Then you're likely, so just those 2 results, obviously, along with A&M winning out, and your likely playoff is going to be Notre Dame, Alabama, let's say Ohio State, and it would maybe come down to A&M versus Cincinnati, and I think A&M would get in. So
I agree.
There you go.
It's not that far fetched.
No, it's not. It's not. And Trey, to his credit, you've been talking about that for a few weeks. I'd kind of written him off a little bit, but could happen.
They're hanging around.
Yep, they are.
All right, we got the Florida Gators. If they lose another, they'll be out since they have 2 losses. They lost to A&M earlier. But obviously, if they win out and get to beat Bama in the SEC title, they're in.
Yep, pretty simple there.
Yep, definitely. All right, so let's go to Cincinnati here, team that's kind of on the outskirts here. So Cincinnati plays Tulsa here to end the regular season. Top 25 Tulsa, tough team, but they're going to play them again. So they're already set in stone about who they're going to play, and so they're going to have to play them twice. And they, of course, they obviously need to beat them twice, and they need to do it convincingly to help their case to have a chance. So, I think they need. So they got to have it. It's almost like what Michael said, but they need Texas A&M to also lose.
Right,
so
right.
That same scenario, but so you got Clemson needs to lose to Notre Dame again. Texas A&M needs to lose to Auburn or Tennessee or whoever. Florida needs to lose to Bama, and then they might need Ohio State also to lose a game or to have some cancellations as well. So
they might not need that though in the scenario we laid out.
They might not need Ohio State.
Yeah.
So because you're gonna have Bama, you're gonna have Notre Dame, and that's true. Yeah, maybe Ohio State.
Could be Ohio State, and then Cincinnati could be the 4th team.
True,
so,
my fault. Yeah,
that's not that far fetched.
It's not.
The other thing. What do you get? We didn't really bring it up, but what if Clemson beats Notre Dame by like 30?
Which
does that? A lot of people are just automatically putting the Irish in. They're still. They could. No,
they're not automatically in. Yeah,
if you get a trucked like that,
yeah, and then because then I would bring up the point that Notre Dame beat Clemson, but it was at home and without Trevor Lawrence. But that's a separate story. Still a good win because DJ Uiagalelei is impressive.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, I thought that was fun to look through those scenarios. We'll see what happens.
And we didn't bring up any Big 12 or Pac-12 teams.
Oh yeah. Any other teams? Yeah, I should say that. Any other teams that have any sort of chance?
No,
it's too bad. Iowa State lost week 1 to Louisiana. Yeah. They'd be sitting unbeaten. Oklahoma, if they wouldn't have lost 2.
Well, Iowa State would be sitting with 1 loss.
I don't know what Trey said, but
wait, Iowa State has 1 loss.
No, they have 2 losses.
Oh, well, there you go.
They lost to OU.
OU,
Sorry, they lost to Oklahoma
No, they
State,
beat OU. They lost to Oklahoma State. That's right.
There it is.
That's right.
Louisiana.
Never mind.
Yeah.
But
sorry,
if they did beat
now.
Louisiana,
I zoned out when Trey was talking there.
Yeah, the Big 12 is pretty much toast. Oklahoma is probably playing the best, but they have 2 losses, and it's
everybody has 2 losses in the Big 12. There's no
When you get below like the Cincinnati level and everything, it just would take insane amount of chaos. I'm sure if I could pick the result of every game, I could somehow get OU in, but it would take
That's
And
true. I wonder who
Hell
would.
of a lot.
Yeah, I mean, poor BYU.
Yeah, BYU is 14th in the initial ranking. Unless they're able to schedule some juggernaut, even that. I mean, they're drawing dead with their current schedule. There's no way
Yeah.
they're getting in, and probably not even if they are able to schedule a good team. But we'll see.
I know it's too bad that they've had a kind of a rough go on the schedule here, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, let's get to our other sponsor.
Yes, our other sponsor here. All right,
Who is
we
that?
ready?
Ryan?
All right, so our second sponsor here. Join mybookie.ag here. So if you're thinking about joining a betting website, this is the site you should join. You really should. They have so many bonuses, free bets, boosted odds. It's really a no-brainer. So, for example, this past weekend, they gave a $250 free bet on the Lions Texans game on Turkey Day. Friday they had 10 boosted odds or like line move bets. So let's say they'd give you Auburn plus 31 when the line was really 24. So they give you a free 7 points. It's just many things just kind of like that. And there was 10 of them. So in the boost, we all the bros were on it this weekend. The boosts were huge. 4 out of like the 5 games that happened were like we ended up winning because of the boosted odds. So
Right.
it was a fun thing that we certainly took advantage of. But they also have all the casino games that you would want. They have everything. They have good customer service, and you can if you join, they'll match 50% of your first deposit. So let's say you put in 1,000, they'll give you a free 500 to work with. So go to mybookie.ag, use the promo code CFBROS, all caps, and start winning today. I mean, it's a great place. We've had a lot of fun so far. We talk about it all the time, and it's created some excitement. It creates a lot of more fun on those games that you might not necessarily be interested in. But hey, I got $5 on Buffalo tonight. Hey, I know I'm all of a sudden really rooting for Jaret Patterson to get his 9th touchdown. So, mybookie.ag, promo code CFBROS.
All right, let's get to week 14. Make some picks here. First game is on Friday. It's Louisiana at App State. Big game in the Sun Belt. App State's favored. Well, yeah, I guess Coastal's
It isn't.
Yeah, it's a big 2 good teams. How about that?
I know, that's what's weird about it. You would think this would have some implications, but it's just there's no implications here.
No.
You got Louisiana already has the West Division wrapped up, so they're going to be in the Sun Belt Championship game, and Appalachian State can't catch Coastal in the East. Coastal already has that wrapped up. So, like Michael said, it's just 2 good teams playing. So this pride of the game here of just winning is really what's on the line. It's a tough game to pick though, because I think both teams, obviously both teams are good, but they're also somewhat similar. They both are strong running teams with good, solid defenses. They're led by experienced quarterbacks that can run a little bit. They both score about the same, give up about the same. It's a tough one, but I'm leaning towards Louisiana. The first 7 games they played, relatively close games. None of them were really lopsided in either direction, but they've won their last 2 games by a combined 78 points. That to me seems like they're firing a little bit more on all cylinders. They've looked really, really good. So I think I'll take the 2.5 points and take Louisiana.
I hear you with that, but Louisiana, to me, I've followed them a lot this year. They're 8-1. They're good, but I don't think they're quite as good as we maybe thought they would be, or as good as their record indicates. 4 of their wins have been by less than 7 points, or 7 or less. So I'm going to take App State at home, senior day for them. Zach Thomas, -2.5. I'm going to lock them up.
Whoa, hello.
Yeah.
All right, I am definitely less confident than Trey. Like you, Ryan, I thought this game was really tough to pick.
Yeah.
Evenly matched teams. I guess I think App State is a little better. I know Louisiana only has 1 loss, but like we've talked about, since that Iowa State game, it's just I feel like they've had some luck for sure. So maybe their luck runs out this game. But yeah, good quarterback matchup. Levi Lewis and Zach Thomas. I'll just have fun watching this Friday night because the other game that was supposed to be Friday night no longer is. That's Washington State at USC. And
is that game required to be on a Friday? Seems like that game's always played on a Friday.
Yeah, that's right. I remember losing to them on I believe it was a Friday, maybe Thursday or Friday.
I think, yep.
Anyway, but it's moved to Sunday now because USC's been having some issues with COVID. Of course, had to cancel their game last week against Colorado. They had 4 positive tests, 7 more are out due to contact tracing. And so I think it hit a particular position group hard. So we'll see. I don't know if this game's going to happen. There's no point spread for it, so we won't make picks here. But hopefully it can go off. That'd be fun to watch on Sunday.
It's been rough over here in LA, man.
Yeah, it's been rough a lot of places. It's not good.
No.
Clemson -22 at Virginia Tech is our next game. What do you think here, Trey?
Man, Dabo is in revenge mode and wants to take it out on everyone at this point. They were up 31-0, I believe, on Pitt in the first quarter this past weekend. And the Hokies, the Hokies have been very disappointing. They've now lost 3 in a row, including the last game. They lost by 33 to Pitt, only putting up 14 points. In the preseason, I circled this game as a potential stumbling block for Clemson going to Blacksburg in December. Not anymore. I'm going to take the hungry Clemson team.
Yeah, I'm hesitant in this game. I've of course been high on Virginia Tech. They actually have played reasonably well all season long, despite being one of the worst hit teams in terms of COVID, especially early in the season. So it's been kind of a mess, especially defensively. But they are 20th in SP Plus, 31st in Sagarin's predictor. So they have been good until last week.
Yes.
Like you said, just got killed by Pitt. So I wonder if they've they've lost close games. So that's their record, of course, isn't what they want it to be, and the fans, of course, are not happy with Justin Fuente. So I wonder if kind of the bottom's going to fall out here. I guess we'll find out in this game. But I'm going to stick with them for one more week. I'll go with Virginia Tech. I think at the very least, Hendon Hooker and Khalil Herbert, they've got the potential to be explosive on offense, so they could get a backdoor cover.
I think the bottom kind of already fell out when they got smoked by Pitt.
Ryan, you can't keep within 20 points of Kenny Pickett. It's tough to do.
That's true.
I had trouble spitting that one out.
I'm going with Trey. I think Clemson's on a mission here. It's the second half of the season. They're in prove it mode. Trevor Lawrence is back and wanting to do well too. They just, this is the type of games where they just absolutely destroy teams. And Virginia Tech they're not going to be able to stop Clemson. Clemson's going to put up whatever they want. So give me Clemson. I think they'll win huge.
All right. Texas A&M -7 at Auburn. For me, this is too many points to give on the road with an A&M team that it hasn't really been dominant this year. Struggled to score, as we talked about last week, against a bad LSU defense. And not to go small sample here, but allow me to go small sample. Auburn is 4-0 at home, with double-digit wins over Kentucky, LSU, who they killed, and Tennessee. Not great teams there, but still, like, they're not a bad team.
That's 3 so far. Who's the 4th team?
Well, the 4th one was Arkansas. It wasn't a double-digit win. And they were lucky to win it, but still, it was a win.
Yeah, they got really lucky. They should have lost.
I know. That's why I didn't want to bring it up, Ryan. No, but still, they, hopefully Tank Bigsby is going to be healthier this week. He's been playing through an injury. It just wouldn't surprise me if Auburn upsets A&M. So I'm going to make Auburn +7 points my lock.
I thought about that.
Yeah, I agree with Michael. I just the way Kellen Mond looked last week has me very worried. His arm was just, the balls weren't even close. I mean, he missed some wide open guys. He was either throwing it in the dirt or they're throwing it way over their head. It was just not good. I'm not sure what was the deal, because like Michael had mentioned, like, he's been pretty solid, up to this point. So that just has me worried. But even when he was solid, they still weren't, putting up 50 points a game or anything. Their offense has still got some limitations, especially on the outside and the perimeter. And Auburn they got destroyed by Alabama, but that's just like, who cares? Everybody's going to get destroyed by me. That doesn't factor into this really at all for me. Bo Nix will have a little more success against an A&M defense than he will probably the Bama defense, especially when they don't have to pass all the time and get teed up on. So, yeah, I'll take Bo Nix and Auburn to cover that 7.
Yep, I'm going to give Auburn a shot at home. The offense has been a little stale, but I think they'll figure something out against the Aggies.
Yep.
All right, Liberty at Coastal Carolina. The Chants are favored 7.
Game day.
And Game Day is going to
Yeah,
be
baby.
at this one,
That's
which
awesome.
is insane. You got one lost Liberty, undefeated Coastal. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, this is sweet. Awesome here for the adopted team of the podcast, the Chanticleers. Two great teams going at it. Coastal still have an outside chance of making a New Year's Six bowl. They'd obviously need quite a bit of help to do that. But hey, they would be I think 12-0 with wins against like Liberty, App State. They'd have 2 wins against Louisiana, assuming they win the rest of their games.
Yeah, if Cincinnati stumbles, then
yeah, so that
maybe
would be 4 really quality wins. They would be hard to ignore. They'd be really hard to ignore, especially how good they've looked. They've been dominant in pretty much every game outside of Louisiana. So, well, this is a big one. Both QBs for these squads have been awesome. You got Grayson McCall, freshman for Coastal Carolina. He's been fantastic. He has 25 total touchdowns to just 1 interception on the year, which is just remarkable. On the flip side, Malik Willis for Liberty. I mean, he's been great on the ground. He's been great through the air. Former Auburn transfer. He's been, just awesome for Hugh Freeze. So there's a lot to like about both these teams. I'm going to lean with Coastal. Just think they've been a little more consistent. I like their defense a little bit better. And I just can't go against, of course, the adopted team of the podcast. So I'll give the 7 points with the Chants.
I do love watching that Chants offense. It's so unique. It's enjoyable. And both these teams are insanely good against the spread this year. They've basically outperformed they're 8-2 and 7-1 each. So I'm going to take the 7 points with Malik Willis and Hugh Freeze. I think they're going to be able to score enough and keep it close. But go Chants.
Yeah, go Chants, exactly. That's why I'm going with the Chanticleers. I don't know. It's hard for me to pick this one logically. I can see why you'd take some points with Liberty. My argument for Coastal would be they've been tested quite a bit more than Liberty. Liberty's schedule is
it's a joke.
Arguably the worst in the country. They did have that win at VT. I
thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say UMass. That was impressive.
Yeah, that beating UMass 45-0 or whatever.
They beat NC State.
No, they didn't. They lost to NC State.
They lost by a point.
They covered the spread.
Okay. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff.
I knew they played them. I forgot they lost. My bad.
Anyone who followed us,
they missed a field goal.
Followed us once they hear this.
Hey, Trey thought Iowa State had 2 losses or 1 loss.
Okay. Yeah, I screwed up.
Hey,
Mike,
we're not perfect.
When's your screw up coming, Mike?
We'll see. I'll try and
probably already had one. We just don't remember.
Yeah, that's quite possible. Okay. Indiana at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's favored 14.5. What do you think, Trey?
Yeah, Jack Tuttle, he's going to get the nod for the Hoosiers, but I would expect a heavy dose of Stevie Scott and Tim Baldwin at running back. Last week, you kind of thought the Hoosiers would have a letdown after the Ohio State loss. Like I mentioned that earlier, but I think this week that might be that week after losing Penix. The offense struggled a bit against a bad Maryland defense. So I don't really see much success against Wisconsin's very good defense. The Badgers had a week off after their loss to Northwestern. I'm going to take the fresh Badgers, and I think they're going to bounce back here.
I'm with you. I'm going with Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's lost to Northwestern, the 5 turnovers, maybe just a little bit fluky. I think Graham Mertz will bounce back here. And I know Jack Tuttle, we talked about, is a former 4-star recruit. He transferred from Utah a couple years ago. So he's been there. But your first start going up against one of the best defenses in the country. Like Wisconsin is, I know they've only played 3 games, which is probably why they aren't talked about a bunch. But that defense is as good as anyone out there. So, that's why I'm going with the Badgers.
I'm going to go the other way, guys. 14.5 points is a lot when you got Indiana, who's got a good defense. They're pretty tough as well on that side of the ball. They shut down Maryland, of course, here last week. But and then Wisconsin, they also have kind of shown that with what Graham Mertz last game, well, he wasn't that great. I mean, his first game against Illinois was amazing. Then all of a sudden, he didn't look that great. His last appearance. So I think 14.5 is kind of a lot. Indiana is going to fight. You can guarantee you that team is going to fight and claw their way to make this one close. So 14 points seems like a good enough number for me to take the Hoosiers.
Okay. Alabama at LSU. The Tide are favored 28.5. And Alabama's covered 5 straight games, most of them easily. They would have covered pleasers in just about all of them. The offense is obviously the best in the country. What's been different is the defense the last few weeks has been dominant, and that hasn't been the case for feels like a couple years. So that's pretty promising. And LSU, I mean, TJ Finley has been bad at quarterback. Max Johnson, the other freshman,
Both really bad.
don't have a lot of confidence in him. And their best receiver, Terrace Marshall, just opted out. So no matter the number, I know that's kind of definitely a square thing to say. No matter the number, I just can't bet against Alabama here.
I completely, wholeheartedly agree. I think Alabama it'll just be like Auburn's game, the game against Auburn, where they were up like 40 or something, and they could have named their number here. Just to see the same thing. LSU's offense is just looking pretty rough. Finley, I mean, he really, really struggled. Just make a ton of poor choices and bad throws. Johnson, just game's moving a little too quick for him so far. I think Bama wins this one easy. I'm going to make them my lock.
I'm going to immediately walk something back. Sometimes you just say stuff and you don't think about it. I don't mean any number. Give me plus 35 right now and I'll take LSU.
Yeah, good point.
Yes. Give you a free 7 points and you'll take the free 7 points.
Yes.
That's right. I'm going to reluctantly, scarily take LSU. I got to say, I know we talk about Kellen Mond struggling, but I think Pelini's defense last week against A&M, they've at least improved a little bit. Like they're not as dire. It's not as dire of a situation as it was in the first few weeks. I think they're maybe coming around, but I mean, they're not going to slow down Alabama, but maybe they'll get a couple stops to cover the 28.5.
That secondary played really well in the A&M game. They were, I mean, Mon threw up a lot of balls and a lot of deep balls, and those LSU DBs, I mean, they didn't have many pass interference calls, and they had a bunch of passes deflected. They were right there. They were pretty good.
But man, Alabama LSU 28.5. Like who would have thunk?
Yeah, that's
crazy. All right, let's get to some other games we want to bring up in our honorable mentions.
That's right. We got Florida is given 17 at Tennessee. The Vols are in a tailspin. They've lost 5 in a row. The heat's on Pruitt right now. The offense has been very disappointing. They're 94th in SP plus on the offensive side. Not good if you're going to need to match scores against this Gators offense with Trask and Pitts. The Gators know they can't slip up. They're going to be focused on this rivalry. I'm going to take the Gators. Oregon is given 10 at Cal. I'm going to actually take Cal here. I haven't been overly impressed with the Ducks. They're 3-1, but haven't really been dominant in doing so. They've had a lot of opt-outs on defense, but we still expected that unit to be pretty good, and they just haven't been. Now that Cal's not a juggernaut at all on offense, but Garbers can get enough production to make this at least close. Syracuse at Notre Dame. Notre Dame is favored 33.5. The bottom has totally fallen out on Dino Babers and Syracuse. They're 1-9, not many silver linings. That being said, 33.5 is a ton of points. And the Irish are coming off the high of winning at North Carolina. They know they have a fairly tough one at Wake next week before the ACC title. So because of the situation, I say Syracuse can keep it within the 33.5. And then finally, Fresno State at Nevada. Nevada is favored 7.5. I'm going to take the points with Fresno here. Both teams, their only loss is to Hawaii. But since losing to Hawaii in week 1, Fresno has reeled off 3 pretty convincing wins. Ronnie Rivers has been running the ball really well. Nevada, they're good, but they just lost their first game last week on the islands. So we'll see if they're lethargic, disappointed after the long travel home. Nevada's played some close games. I don't see them running away with this one.
All right. I got West Virginia at Iowa State. Cyclones are favored 7. I know I always bet on Iowa State. You guys expect me to do that. Going against them here. I think expect a low-scoring game. West Virginia's got a really good defense. Jaret Deggy doesn't turn the ball over. And they're coming off of a bye, West Virginia is, whereas Iowa State just had a hard-fought road game against Texas, had the kind of jubilation of basically guaranteeing the Big 12 title, although I'm sure Campbell's going to try and convince them, hey, that one scenario could still happen. So we'll see. But give me the Mountaineers. Texas is -10 at Kansas State. Tom Herman we haven't really brought up this episode, I don't think. He could be drawing dead for his job, but if he loses this one, that could
Well,
be
if he
the
loses either of the next two,
yeah, either he's got Kansas the next
the
week.
Kansas
I think,
schools.
exactly. He's got to win both of those to have any chance. I'll say he gets a win and a cover here. K-State has lost 4 straight, and Will Howard has just been a huge downgrade from Skylar Thompson at quarterback. He's a true freshman, I think, so understandable. Colorado -7 at Arizona. Grant Gunnell, the promising sophomore quarterback for Arizona, injured his shoulder last week. We don't know yet, but I'm guessing he's going to be out here. And the backup, Will Plummer, a true freshman, struggled against UCLA last week. So I'm going to take Colorado to somehow remain undefeated.
Yeah. Beat a good Aztec team this past weekend.
They did. Nice, solid win. They're pretty good.
Pretty
They're
good.
not bad.
It's crazy.
Stanford at UW. Huskies are favored 11, and I like them. Love their defense. And Stanford, I thought, got outplayed by Cal last week. We're lucky to win that one. And they could be in the process of relocating to the Pacific Northwest. That's kind of the reports that they're pondering that move with all the COVID restrictions in Santa Clara County. So they're kind of in flux. I'll bet against them.
That's tough. That's a tough spot. See the 49ers are going to go play in Arizona. So,
is that right?
Yep. Alrighty here. My first game, Ohio State is favored 23.5 at Michigan State. So Ohio State, they feel optimistic they'll be able to play this game, and they need it. If they can't, they don't want to get disqualified from the Big Ten title game. So I'm not sure how a 5 or a 6 game team would look in the committee. So this is an important game. I'm going to take Sparty though. They obviously played pretty well to beat Northwestern. They have some signs of life here. And they'll definitely want to be up for playing a big game, big team like Ohio State. And we know Ohio State's probably going to be without some players. Not sure exactly who, but they're obviously dealing with some issues. So I'll take the big spread with Sparty. Second game, Oklahoma State is favored 2.5 at TCU. Okie State, of course, they need to win both games they have left and an insane amount of help to make the Big 12 title game. And TCU, they're just trying to get a winning season here. I'm going to take the Cowboys, take the Pokes. I know their defense is slowing down a little bit. They've given up over 40 here in the last couple of games, but TCU's offense might help them kind of get back on track. So last week's game, though, was kind of weird for TCU. So Max Duggan, he was just 3 of 11, yet his team put up 59 points on Kansas. So they only completed 3 passes, or he completed 3 passes, yet they put up 59 points. So I just guess that's how bad Kansas is.
And they were all touchdowns, his 3 completions.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's true. I didn't think of that. So it kind of got me thinking. I've sort of kind of had me a little theme there of thinking about a trivia question for you guys. So, Michael, normally you're the guy doing this, but shall we enter the trivia zone?
Oh, let's do it.
All right.
I'm going to ask you a trivia question here.
Trivia.
Doesn't matter what it is, you have answers.
Zone.
When you ask me those kind of questions, it really pisses me off.
Trivia zone.
Alrighty here. So, my question for you guys, I looked up on the play index as well. It's a cool tool. Michael's
okay. That's my tool, and only I can use it.
I know. It was pretty sweet. I kind of figured out how to use it finally.
I'm useless to this podcast.
Not that easy. It's like, well, there's so many variables you got to plug in sometimes, but I figured this one out. So, okay. Since 2000, when the play index started, how many teams have scored 50 or more points while completing 0 passes? So first, let's just try to guess how many teams have done that. 50 or more points while completing 0 passes.
Like how many times has it happened, or how many different teams?
How many times has it happened?
How many times?
Yeah, because I think probably Navy and Army have done it a couple times or something.
Yeah, it would have to be Navy, Army, those type of
Air
teams,
Force.
Georgia Southern or someone like that.
So how many times has it happened?
I'm going to say I don't like being on this side.
Michael's going to guess. Trey will go over under.
I'll say 4. What do you think?
Right.
Is that too low?
Seems low. I'm going to go over.
Okay. Damn. What is it?
No, it was actually under.
Whoa!
Twice. It's happened
Really?
twice. 0 completions is pretty low.
Oh, yeah, that's true. 0. I thought you meant under 3. No,
Under
that's
3,
that's
no.
fair. Just
0.
0. Oh, 0.
Zero.
Yeah.
If it was
you're
3
right.
or less, it would have been like 30 or something. It
Yep.
was like
Yep.
something like
Okay.
that.
There we
But
go. I
yeah.
was thinking under 3. Yep.
Didn't want to make it 30. That would have been kind of a, so I wanted to make it easier and been the right
Sure.
thing. But just 2 times it's happened. Now, can you name those 2 teams? One of them, you would guess. The other one, a little trickier.
Well, my best first guess would be Navy.
It's not Navy.
Okay, well then my second guess. Well, Trey, you can make the second guess.
Yeah, I'm down to Air Force and Army, but I'll say Army.
Yes, one of them was Army.
Was it like a couple years ago?
Yeah, they did it. They did it a few years ago. They put up 64 on Fordham.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, like 2017. Didn't have any completed passes. So
Yeah.
Now the other
Okay.
one happened in 2002, so quite a long time ago, and it's not one of the traditional option teams. So this one's tough. This would be tough.
Was it a team that were they missing their quarterback? Is that how it happened or no? Do you know?
I don't.
Okay.
It's like the Denver Broncos this week.
Yeah.
Because I seem to remember sometimes teams missing their quarterbacks or
Yeah.
I don't know.
This was 18. I don't know. I didn't take a peek at the box score of this one.
I don't know. I'll throw out Kansas State.
I mean, it's worth a guess. Yeah. I mean, it's a MAC team. I'll give you that hint.
Northern Illinois?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good guess too, but no.
Oh, it's because they're a MAC team.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
They run the
say,
ball.
and they run the ball. Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. I'll say Ohio.
Yes.
No,
Oh, there you go.
Lucky.
Ohio. They put
Before
up
Solich.
yeah, right before Solich, right? They put up
Yeah.
50 against Kent State back
Wow.
in 02. So just twice. It's just kind of
0 completions, 50
Good
points.
work.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
You know, I should have. That was a good thing to look at. I'd also like to look at 3 completions, 3 touchdowns.
Oh,
Like, has anyone ever done that?
That's pretty
okay.
good.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
Well, all right.
Hey, you know what? Here's another plug for our Twitter at CFB Bros. Follow us there. I'll look that up.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
And follow at CFB_Michael while you're at it. Why not? Just come on. throw me a
And
bone.
Ryan F. Newman won.
And 3 Newman.
All right, Ryan, you
No,
still
I
got a
got
couple
2
games
more.
to break down.
I
Oh
got
my
2 more.
gosh.
Okay, I got Oregon State at Utah. Utah's favorite 11.5, which really, give me the Beavs. The Beavs just coming off of a massive win against the Ducks. They run the ball really well. Utah got off to a hot start, of course, last week at UW, but then UW kicked it into gear and shut them down second half and ended up winning that one. So I'm going to take the Beavs plus the 11.5 there for sure. And then my last game, I got Buffalo, their favorite 11.5 also at Ohio, who was led by Rourke, the younger Rourke, Curtis Rourke, the freshman. He's played pretty well. They've only had 3 games so far, but they're sitting at 2-1. They had one close loss at a good Central Michigan team. So I know Buffalo's playing well. Obviously, Jaret Patterson's making national headlines here. I'm going to take Ohio here. Buffalo's kind of riding high. Ohio's still a good team with some solid defense. So give me them at home plus 11.5.
All righty. Long episode here. Let's close it out with a questionable finish. The list of 13 remaining undefeated teams in college football includes Coastal Carolina, Colorado, and San Jose State. If 1 year ago today, I told you all 3 of these teams would be undefeated at this point here, late November 2020, what would you have said or done?
What you just said is one of the dumbest, most incoherent statements I have ever heard in my entire life. Everybody in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I feel sorry for you. May God have mercy on your soul. I forget what the rest was. Something like that.
You misquoted the beginning, but
I did.
It was pretty
You
good.
came around.
You know where I was coming from, though.
I knew. I probably would have thought that there was like a pandemic that caused fewer games to be played.
Yeah.
That's what I would have thought.
I would have said something though to the effect of, does the world end in 2020? And
Mhm.
yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Almost.
And then I would have made some bets.
Yes.
Our Cornhuskers are now 1-4. Name something that would be less horrible the Nebraska football games to watch every Saturday.
I mean, I love being a fan of a team to have something to look forward to each week, but I can't believe I sign up for it every week and just get slapped in the face. Just to see how, we should have won, but we end up finding a way to lose. It's a blast. I'd say I'd rather literally watch anything because I could randomly hit different numbers on the remote and whatever channel it lands on, literally whatever, I know I'm going to have less angst watching that than the Huskers lately.
Even if it's young Sheldon, if it flipped it to young Sheldon,
I wouldn't be pissed off at young Sheldon.
How about Two Broke Girls? Two Broke Girls.
I have, oh my gosh.
Those are my answers.
It's painful.
Yeah, I'll just say anything on the Hallmark Channel. Brutal, but
don't like
not as brutal as watching Nebraska though.
Sentimental right now.
Yeah.
The holidays.
Let's get to our upset specials. We got to pick a 7+ point underdog to win outright. I had Ball State winning last weekend as a 9.5 point dog at Toledo. This week, I'm going to take Cal to win outright against Oregon. Trey, you talked about that game. And Cal's offense, since that debacle in week 1, hasn't been horrible the last couple weeks. I could see them hanging around in this game against a bad, well, I say bad Oregon defense. Maybe that's harsh, but they've played bad.
Yeah.
Why not?
I brought this one up earlier. I'm going to say Fresno State. They're getting 7.5 against Nevada. I just think that they can take advantage of Nevada's first loss and get the upset in Reno.
Yeah, I like that one. I'm going to take Illinois. They're getting 13.5. They're hosting Iowa, and I'm not impressed with Iowa's offense whatsoever. Spencer Petras was really bad against Nebraska. Nebraska held him in check pretty good. Ground game wasn't that impressive. They still got a good defense, but Illinois is pretty good. They're relatively, but they got a good O-line. They can run the ball. Brandon Peters is a solid quarterback. Their defense can create turnovers, so I think Illinois can win that one.
All righty, there you have it.
How many Twitter followers, Miguel?
Yeah, I'm just checking that right now. Well, I had 49 followers right before.
And now he has 47
as the episode was starting. And I tweeted out, please follow me. I'm desperate. I quote tweeted it from the College Football Bros. How many followers do you think I'm at now?
49.
49.
Hey,
oh,
didn't lose
man.
any.
I didn't lose any. That's good. I actually was at 50 a few days ago, and I lost. Somehow I lost. I don't know who, but
sorry, that was me.
Guess it was some bad tweets. That was you, Trey.
No.
Well, that was fun. 0 followers. I'll just blame it on the fact that it is now 3 in the morning.
Most places, yeah,
close to it on the East Coast. So, anyway, appreciate those who are still listening. And if you like the show, be sure to subscribe on YouTube and give us a thumbs up for all the episodes. That helps the algorithm show our episodes to more people. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts if you haven't already. And we will talk to you next week.
You've been listening to the College Football Bros. If you have any questions for the next podcast, email them to collegefootballbros@gmail.com. To keep up with the brothers on social media, like them on Facebook at College Football Bros, follow them on Instagram at College Football Bros, and for their commentary on Saturdays, follow them on Twitter at CFB Bros. Thanks for listening.